Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. My name is Nikki, and a little while ago, 2 weeks ago maybe, I popped up a tutorial on exactly how I made this gorgeous masterboard inspired by Luise Heinzl. She used distress ink sprays to add colour to hers, and I didn't have any of those. For some reason, I've never bought any, so I don't have some, and I just decided to use my watercolours. And one thing I noticed, even though I love this masterboard, it is delightful, my watercolours, they're pretty decent quality ones, are very, very vibrant. The colours are really quite bright. It's not a problem. I'm happy to use it. It's all good. But I decided to do another one. So while I was playing, I decided to try again, simply because the Distress Oxide sprays definitely provided a more muted type of colour, and I quite liked that too. So I've made another one. Now, these are not identical in any shape or form, but what I did, instead of using my really good quality watercolours, now of course in hindsight what I could have done is dilute them a lot further. That may have helped in creating a more muted shade, but what I did, I grabbed my super cheapies. Now honestly, these silly paints cost next to nothing. I have used them for so many projects, and they are honestly one of the best investments you can make. If you want to create a good quality watercolour picture, these aren't for you. But if you're a general crafter, paper crafter, junk journal maker, I have coloured ribbon, paper, fabric, you name it, with these things, and they do an amazing job. So that is how, if you just have a look at these next to each other, can you see how a lot of my watercolour on here is really quite bright and vibrant, but on this one, quite muted, which I absolutely love. The only thing that did end up quite bright, I did some splattering with this colour here, and that actually tracked down quite bold, which surprised me. I didn't think they were quite capable of that, but that's by the by. I just wanted to show you the difference between the two. So if you really are after a more muted / vintage feel, then grabbing your really cheap watercolours is going to do the job. The other thing I did with this one, I have not as yet, I didn't do any of the black stenciling. I've done some of the white with texture paste, but I then just did some splatters. I did black splatters and then these beautiful aqua-y coloured ones. So it's muted this down quite a bit because, you know, there's little splatters all over it. But I didn't do the black. I decided to leave that because I might do some black stenciling when I actually turn this into ephemera. And on that note, I asked at the end of this video whether you'd like to see me turn masterboards like this into actual pieces of ephemera. And a few people said they would love to see that. So I thought what I would do, I might actually use half of this page and half of that page. That way I can keep some to use at a later date. And I'm going to chop it up into a variety of different sizes and pieces. And we're going to decorate it into ephemera. So let me go and get sorted and let's create. So I've cut the 2 masterboards in half and I've flipped them over and I have randomly cut some different size pieces. So now we can make some ephemera. So we'll put those to the side and we'll start with number 1. Intention for this width to me is perfect for a belly band. So then with each piece, you have a look at it and you assess which way you think is top and bottom. Are there things you don't like that you want to cover up? Are there bits you love that you don't want to hide? And then you pick some decoration to go with it. Now, I quite like this number 5 here, but Don't really care if you can't see it. Don't love any of this so much that I must, you know, keep it uncovered. It's, of course, quite busy, these masterboards are. So I have some lovely, simple little pieces to attach to this one. And what I'm thinking, when I do belly bands, I love having pieces that sort of stick out the side. So what we're going to do here is we're going to flip this over, and I'm just going to pop some glue down on this side so that I can have part of it sticking out over the edge. Simple, just like that. Then I've got this cute little moth image here. We're going to do exactly the same with all these pieces, and I've sort of got together some lighter things to create a little bit of calm and a few little points where your eyes can settle. It's not all super duper busy. Got another piece here. Again, we're not gluing it all the way down. Let's have nice bits hanging over the edge, because I love belly bands that look like that. And I want to make them all sort of a little bit different. I don't want them all to hang over the edge exactly the same way. Now, which way does this go? No, I want to hold that end. Look, if they went upside down, I don't really think that would matter too much either, but we're going to try and not do that. Let's get this one in a little bit closer. And finally, a little number tag here. Except, guess what I've just done? I've went and glued it the wrong way. Honestly, Nick, you are a nuff. So what we're going to do, we're going to pop that on this side. That was not my intention. It was meant to go there, but that's okay. Ah, silly me. And then finally, I've got this little piece that I made. It was a piece of thin brown paper that has had some green paint and a few splatters and then a stamp on it. So we're just going to glue this down. Now, when you're making ephemera like this, you may have pieces you want to put together and create a totally finished piece. But in this instance, like having a look at this now, I do think it could do with a nice pop of colour. Okay, so, you know, a beautiful flower or two, or, you know, a colourful butterfly, whatever you might like. But if you make your pieces to 95%, then when you are actually putting them in a journal, especially if you're doing these before you have a journal in mind, you can then add the perfect piece of ephemera to match the journal. Because it'd be just my luck, I'd put a pretty purple flower on here, and then lo and behold, I'm doing a journal where I really want a yellow flower, and of course I've got a purple one. Just an example, obviously, but sometimes just do them to 95%, keeping them relatively neutral unless you want them very colourful, like totally, and add that final little touch, whether it be a stamp or a piece of another little piece of ephemera, completely up to you, but then you can make it perfectly match your journal. So there's the first piece. Very simple, just stuck a few bits down and it's 95% done. Now, moving on to the next bit, of course, I had my belly band. It was, to me, too long if I kept the full piece. So, of course, I've ended up with this little scrap. So I'm thinking, what do you do with that? Well, we can use this as a little highlight piece. I have inked the edges of this one. And I've grabbed a piece of, this is cardboard, relatively thin. It's not the chunkiest. And I've peeled off some of the top layer. I've inked around the edges. These do make great tags, journaling cards, because it's lovely and clean on the back, plenty of room to write. So we are going to use this as our base and add this as a little highlight. Now, what I think I would like to do though is I might just take this is Distress Oxide Vintage Photo today, and I'm just going to put a little bit of colour on here, just a little bit. Create it a little, just make it a little bit grungier. Not too much. Yep, I like that. That's perfect. So now we're going to start with our base piece, and we are going to use this to start building a tag. So we're going to pop that on there, like that. Now, the first thing I'm going to add, this is a piece of magazine page that's had the grunge treatment. There's some ink and a little bit of paint and some stamping, and this is going to need a little bit more help. I've just realised to glue down because it's going down onto not a flat surface, obviously. So just give that a little bit of extra help while I'm seeing that there. And I'm just going to place this up the top of my tag here. Now, you don't always have to cut your corners off tags. I like doing this sometimes. And then we just pop this on here. And I love this one. It's also got a little bit of copper paint splatters on it. And then again, just have to help it glue down because it doesn't have a super smooth surface. But there we go. That worked fine. Then just a couple of little tiny bits extra. I've got this little leaf here. This I stamped onto a piece of paper that I had coloured with food colouring. So we're just going to add that there. And I found this in my stash, and because of this little bit of copper here, I've decided I'm already going to add a little butterfly to this, and I think that is a little great finishing bit. And I'm quite happy for the wings to flap a little bit. So we'll just pop that down there. And I think we can call this one quits too, keeping things simple. But again, if you didn't want to add your main piece of ephemera, just create a base. But I love how that turned out. That will make a great tag in a journal. Right, the next one. This piece here, I've got words the correct way there. This is the right way up. The W's not, but it doesn't matter. But this is an incredibly busy piece. There's just so much happening. Now, it would make a great tag if you cut the corners off. You could also use this as a tuck spot. If you just rounded off these corners and glued this on the side of your page, it would make a great tuck spot. The other thing is, then if you don't want to decide right now what you're going to do with it, I haven't inked the edges on this one. I can do that later. And I can turn it into whatever I want it to be later. And because it's so busy, I just went through my stash and found a selection of black and white monochrome pieces, and we're just going to add them to it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to not put anything up in those corner bits. So if I want to turn this into a tag, I can. Or I can turn it into whatever I like. I could even cut it down into two smaller bits when it's done. Doesn't matter if you get sort of half and half of your ephemera. That looks fun too. But I just thought something simple. And again, this is 90% done or 95% done. And then when you've decided exactly where you want it to go, you can add whatever you like. So this is just all little bits and pieces. I've stamped onto a piece of, this is just normal copy paper, I was just creating some very simple ephemera pieces. Where shall we put it? We can pop that one down there. I don't know where this little pencil thing came from. Could be a magazine, could be an ephemera pack. I just found it in my stash and decided to go with it. And then we've got a cute little old-fashioned camera. This was cut out from a magazine. We might just stick that right there. And even a little sentiment I found. So we're going to add that down here. Voila. So again, almost complete, but I've left that bit so you can cut it off. You could just put a hole or a tab, any way you want to finish it. Again, if you want to add something colourful, by all means do. But using black and white on all this colour can be a perfect way and an easy way to build a base for whatever you might want to use it for down the track. Okay, then the next one. This one here, all of these words are actually the correct way up. So I think I will just go with this one like this. Love the little dragonfly, so don't necessarily want to cut that up. Also haven't bothered to ink the edges of these yet. But my idea with this one was to add a little side tab to it so that it can become a journaling card that you pull out. So you put it into a side tuck or something like that. So we're going to add this piece first. We'll put it up here. Flip it over. And add this bit. And if I decide I don't want to do that, I can just leave it or I can snip it off. It doesn't matter. There are no rules. But sometimes just doing a piece a little bit differently. So then, of course, if these were all going in the same journal, then they're all going to work, you know, a little bit differently. And the other thing I've done is I've just grabbed some scraps. This is a very cute piece of vellum that has a little bit of a black print on it. This is a cut apart ticket from a sheet I had. And I had this other number 2. And I think what we're going to do is just put them down here on the side. And I won't even glue them on. I'm just going to put them on with a staple. Then this can actually become an extra little tuck spot. If you'd prefer, you by all means glue it down. But voila, I quite like this. And this is a bit loose and floppy. I don't mind that. If you don't like that sort of thing, add some more staples or some glue. But there we go. That's another very easy piece. And again, if you then want to add your highlight, go for it. Or otherwise, there is nothing wrong with it, just like that. That's a great little journaling card. Now, the next one. We have another small piece to deal with. Again, very busy, but it's sort of a bit too small to be a journaling card. It's a little tiny. So we're going to use it again as a highlight piece. This is a book page. And on here, I've just grabbed a some vintage photo, and there was a little bit of green left on my brush that I didn't realise. So I sort of got this hint of green as well as the brown, and I certainly don't mind that. And of course, this is going to be a pocket. So we are going to glue this down here. But what I'm going to do is I'm only going to glue 3 sides down. So that way, this is then already a 2-pocket pocket. I'll just pop that down there. And so we will have a pocket there and then another little pocket there. And again, we've just grabbed some little scraps and things to finish this off. Again, I found this gorgeous. This is more of a moth, but I've decided this has to be on board. Again, just adding some glue in the middle, and we're going to put that up here like that. So that way it sticks up here a little bit. It doesn't stop you from using this little pocket here. And I think it looks very cute. Also, I like these duller shades. It helps just to tone things down because this is so bright. Seeing we've got all sorts of booky pages happening here. This is a cute little scrap. It ended up with some shiny blue paint and a bit of coffee on it. I have no idea when or where it came from, but it's in my stash, so I'm going to use it. So we're just going to pop that down here. So this is all sort of a little bit booky, pagey arrangement. That's sort of what keeps it together. And then I also found this cute little die cut that I made. This was cut out from a green page in a magazine. I like using magazines for die cutting. It's a great way to use up just little bits that have the right colours. And magazine pages aren't as thick as cardstock and stuff like that. So great way to create ephemera without adding too much extra bulk. And we're just going to pop that on there like that. And yes, it does disappear a little bit, but it's definitely there, and it's not adding more colour to this already very busy pocket. So then all you have to do is glue, glue and glue, and you've got yourself a great little double pocket. Okay, on to the next one. While we're talking about pockets, I decided this piece lent itself to being a pocket. When I cut it, it was cut this way, but that number 5 I think needs to stay. So I've just used a hole punch to create, of course, your traditional pocket divot. Because this has this nice little splosh of blue down here that is very distinctive, I decided to just grab some little bits of ephemera that have blue, and I'm going to add them in. So that way I've got a bit of a common theme happening, but it's all just very loose and easy. But I thought I love this pop of blue, so let's go with that. So then sometimes you don't have to think of a theme, pick a colour. That can be a great way to make a decision on what ephemera you would like to add to something. Just go with a colour, works well. And I just thought this little sentiment was perfect. And again, I've got the blue background, so just adding a little bit of calm to that very busy pocket. But how cute is that? Nice little journaling card with some blues on it, and that would make a perfect addition to a journal. Now, the next bit. This again, same thing, couldn't decide what to do with this one. So I think I want to ink the edges though, because you'll see with the bits of deco I picked. So I think this easily could make a great tuck spot. I think it's big enough for that. It could also be a journaling card, but I do think probably a little tuck spot down in the corner of a page would be perfect for this one. So, glue it down to your page, and then you have a great little tuck spot. So a little bit of scrap hunting to find some bits. This is a little... I was sewing some paper strips into ruffles, and my sewing machine had a bit of a moment. So I've decided that's fine. We're going with the moment. I like that little bit of mess there. So even though this side is so very neat and tidy, that is not the side I'm going to glue down, because I think I like my little mess. And we're going to have that hanging just over the side. There we go. Then I have... This was literally a little scrap, a little leftover piece. I'd obviously cut off something. We're just going to add that on here. why not there like that? That can hang over the edge a bit too. Then this is a stamp onto a piece of coffee dyed, very thin cotton. I think we want to add that as well. I might do it this way though. And we'll put that up the top. That can hang over the edge a bit too. And then this is a stamp. Is this a sticker or... Oh, look, you know what? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just going to glue it down, though. And I like the fact that it had sort of the little bits of green in it, but a calmer background again. Now, which way does this go? That goes that way. So I'm just going to pop that on there. So there we go. I think that's a very cute little tuck spot. And again, if you then made a journaling card with sort of softer, neutral book page style things, this would stand out really beautifully down in the corner of your page. And luckily last, pardon me, this to me was the perfect size for a journaling card. So quite often when I make them, I do round my corners. Of course, you don't have to do that. This would also be a good center tuck spot if you left these corners straight. I quite like the look of just having the rounded corners on the outer bit, and then that would make a great tuck spot. But I've decided this is going to be a journaling card for now until I work out which journal it may go into. And I'm going to do it up this way because of the word important. I quite like that. I know this is upside down, but I've also got this flower here that didn't stamp on so well. So we're going to go with that as the piece that determines the direction. And again, very busy piece. I've just got a few little fun scrappy bits that I found. So I've picked this. This is a piece of grunged up grid paper. So I think we're going to plop that in here. And it's actually got some copper stamping on it. So I quite like that too. And that led me to pick these pieces because they have a similar hue. These are just little scraps that I have. And we're just going to pop them on for a bit of extra deco. Quite like this little taggy thing. I have no idea where I got all these from. You never know what you find in my stash. But I just thought these three sort of all belong together nicely. And then I also found this. This, of course, is the leftovers from cutting out these little letters. Sometimes these can be really handy to keep because they make great little deco pieces. And we're just going to pop that on there. There we go. So I think we'll call that one quits too. So what I do, I have a tub. Now I know a lot of these things could all be split into proper different areas because I've got vintagey stuff, modern stuff, but all sorts of little bits and pieces live in this tub. Now, every single piece that I used from there, I found in here. So I regularly add to it, but then I also regularly try to use it. And so instead of having to go through boxes and bags and things of stuff, I always have this little selection. I've got little die cuts in there, paper strips, you name it. All these little bits, when I clean up my desk, I throw them in here. And it is great fun trying to dig through this and come up with pieces to decorate, especially if you're doing them, you know, eclectically. They don't have to be a very specific theme. This is a really fun way to use up your scraps and come up with things all in one little tub. So yes, this tub is full, and every time I actually use something, I seem to put 5 pieces in, so it will explode one of these days. But I just thought I'd show you this. little tub, cleaning up your desk, chuck it in, have some fun. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We now have made all these gorgeous bits of ephemera, all using scrappy bits. And then now they are almost 100% ready to go into a journal. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments box below, or let me know which one's your favourite. I'd love to know. And if you could please give this video a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.